Welcome to Chapter 3, Part 1. In this part of Chapter 3, we'll talk about project management process groups in general terms. But first, we will define a process. So a process is a series of actions directed towards a particular result. Project management can be viewed as a series or a number of interlinked processes. And the most basic, the most high level, or the so-called top level processes under project management, and that's why they're called process groups, because they include many sub-processes. They're very high-level processes, are as follows. Initiating processes, when a particular project is formally started or initiated. Planning processes, once you formally initiate or start a project, you need to spend a lot of time planning various aspects of the project. Let's say the exact steps that will be implemented, something that comprises your work breakdown structure, also the budget, the timeline. Execution processes, this is where you go ahead and implement your project based on the plan that you created previously. Then you have the so-called monitoring and controlling processes. This monitoring and controlling phase overlaps all other process groups, because monitoring and controlling ideally should be exercised throughout all phases of a project. But especially it's important during the execution phase, because this is where, this is typically the longest stage, and this is where most of the resources are consumed. And then you have closing phase or closing processes. It's related to formally delivering the project, meaning the specific product or service that the project was supposed to achieve or deliver, and also learning from what went well and also what went wrong throughout the duration of the project. A lot of consultants, a lot of project managers, they skip the closing phase, because what happens is that once they end their project, the project is formally over, so their contract is over, so they switch to another task or another project. So typically there's just not enough time to do proper analysis and proper closing for a project. Now, research shows that successful project managers, or the so-called alpha project managers, they spend more time in the planning phase, almost twice as much time in the planning phase in comparison to not so successful project managers. And that allows them to spend less time during execution phase, and also a little bit less time during monitoring, controlling, a little bit of less time monitoring, controlling, and closing. So this goes back to this famous proverb that goes something like this: if I had 7 days to cut a tree, I would spend 6 days sharpening my axe. If you spend a lot of time planning, then you will save a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money during the execution phase. Now, just as all projects are unique, so are approaches to project management. For example, many organizations develop their own unique project management methodologies, and they mandate or require everybody in the organization to use those unique approaches. Now, just to make this distinction, there is something called methodology, which describes how things should be done as a part of a particular project, and a standard that describes what should be done. So standard is something that is more related towards final deliverables. What should be the outcome. So if you deliver a particular outcome, it doesn't matter how you do it. Now, methodology is more on the how side. Although some standardization bodies such as ISO, they have standards in relation to project management, and those standards can be viewed as methodologies. So sometimes those two are overlapping. Now, there are many specific methodologies that have been proposed over the years. You have Prince, you have Agile, you have Lean, you have Extreme Programming, you have Six Sigma. I mean, there are many methodologies and approaches. Some of them are overlapping. Some of them are more like a business buzzword. Now, the kind of methodology that I personally believe in, and that seems to be the most popular nowadays, especially when it comes to smaller, innovative startup companies, is the so-called Scrum. And here you have a joke about Scrum that everybody's talking. It kind of tells you that everybody is talking about it, but nobody quite understands what Scrum is. And so just pause for a second and read this cartoon. And that also concludes part 1 of chapter 3. Thank you for watching.